historic night in Chicago as Vice President Kamala Harris formally accepts the Democratic nomination for president. Thank you for joining us for a special edition of 12 News. I'm Troy Hayden.
And I'm Karima Devine. Tonight, Harris highlighted her experience as a prosecutor and told stories of her upbringing. Here's the moment that she accepted the nomination.
On behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
And with both conventions wrapped up, we are now less than 50 days away from the start of early voting and just 75 days away from Election Day.
And Arizona, once again, a key battleground state. We want to know more about where this race stands here in our state right now. So 12 News journalist Bram Resnick brought in a couple of panelists to help make sense of all this. Bram, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. Joining us now on this historic night, Democrat Kathy Patterson, a pastor and former Wall Street executive, Christine Jones, an attorney and former Republican candidate for governor. Welcome to you both. Kathy, I want to start with you and the history, the first woman of color nominated by a major party to be president of the United States. What does that mean? Give us some perspective.
My heart is really full tonight. This represents the aspirations of my parents and ancestors, but more importantly, it's the next step in the full step towards realizing what America stands for.
And full participation.
Yes.
In America. You heard that throughout Kamala Harris' speech
and it's
tonight.
True.
Christine, the symbolism for you?
Well, I mean, obviously, the symbolism of another woman being on the ticket is fantastic for all of women who try for decades and decades to achieve equality, even of some sort, which I'm sure you have and I have. I did think that the symbolism of the Democrats embracing freedom and USA, call me Pollyanna, Bram. Okay, you know I'm an idealist and a positive person, but I thought, is this our first bridge of a step to getting people to peacefully coexist? Because there was a time when you could not shout USA in a Democratic convention, and tonight people did.
That's interesting. And so what do you think? This was on the political side, Kamala Harris's introduction to millions of voters. What do you think they might have taken away from that?
Well, obviously, my cynical political hat on says
the Pollyanna and a cynic.
It's all, yes, it's all flip-flopping and it's all a different person. But that's okay, because she's going to have to prove herself out over the next 75 days, and people will ask those questions. For tonight, isn't it a beautiful thing for us to say, "Yay, America"? Yay, America. Take a deep breath. Stop beating up on Tim Walz's kid and just celebrate the fact that he loves his father. Yay, America. Couldn't we just celebrate that for a minute?
Okay, I'll take that as
I would have to disagree in terms of the Democrats have never ceded patriotism. They've been defined as not being patriotic, but we have defended the flag and all of the values of the Constitution forever. But I think that it's just more apparent. And with regard to the vice president, I've never seen her flip-flop in terms of the direction of her values.
I'm not saying
there's not a value, there's not a
but what about policy?
Evolution.
Policy.
On policy, she's been consistent.
No.
Okay,
we don't have time to go through all the lists,
Yeah.
but we've got the fracking, and we've got the border, and we've got the economy, and we've got all the things, including the Doritos. But time will tell, okay? I think congratulations to the Democrats are in order, because instead of booing the people who went to the USA from the back, they joined in, and that's a great thing for us.
Are you trying to argue that the Republicans have been consistent in any way?
We're not talking about the Republicans tonight. I think in terms of the positions on the issues, obviously, the Republican candidate has made no bones about where he stands on the border ever under any circumstances.
We'll
get to that.
We'll get that. I just want to play a soundbite from Kamala Harris, one of several passages where she defines herself. Let's take a listen.
And I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work.
So let's accept Arizona is a 45-45 state right now. Trump
Yep.
and Harris, and the other 10% up for grabs. Independents, moderate Republicans up for grabs. What did you hear Harris say tonight, including that passage there, that you think they will connect with and may bring them over to her side?
I think she did an excellent job with her background and tying it to the values and then tying it to what America stands for and having that concept that everybody stands together and that we have common values and that her administration will be driven for working class and middle class people.
Yeah, there was that emphasis on the middle class, opportunity society, other policy issues. The border is a top issue here in Arizona and around the country. So speak to that.
Yeah, I think for Arizona in particular, and by the way, I want to make it clear, I think when she says those words, she actually believes them when she says them tonight. But we also know Kamala Harris has been in office for 21 years. She's been in the White House for the last 3.5. She promises that when you elect her president, she's going to wave a magic wand and suddenly make all these problems go away. And you just simply can't believe. And I know this because I've run against a lot of those career politicians that just make a lot of promises. But I don't think the people in Arizona, because they've heard this too many times, will fall for the swindle of yet another career politician who could have been fixing these things for the last 21 years and certainly for the last 3.5 and just hasn't.
Are you saying that the former president is not waving a magic wand? He had a chance to fix it for 4 years. He did nothing.
Actually,
and now
the was much more
I'm sorry I didn't
secure.
interrupt
but
you.
But again, we're not
but
talking about President Trump.
I'm talking about the border because I think it's very relevant, and I think she brought a realistic solution. She said that she would sign the bipartisan compromise, and we know for the last 20 years, it's the two parties have never come together on a bill. And she said if she's elected and it gets to her desk, she will sign it.
Let's turn to Donald Trump. He's in Phoenix tomorrow. Glendale, the arena Kamala Harris was at 2 weeks ago. We'll try to break the attendance. She said, let's listen to how Kamala Harris defined Donald Trump.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol where they assaulted law enforcement officers. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse.
Kathy, how effective do you think the case was that Kamala Harris brought against Donald Trump?
I think she was plain spoken, and she referred to events that people remembered that were in the recent past, and she did a great job contrasting his positions with hers.
Christine?
Well, I think when you talk about tomorrow, for example, out at the Glendale Arena, I don't know why everybody is so obsessed with crowd sizes. Now
there's one person obsessed with crowd sizes.
Apparently now both campaigns are obsessed with bragging about their crowd sizes. It's irrelevant, people. We don't care. What we do care about is what's going on at the border in Arizona and distinguishing the bipartisan inability to fix immigration from the actual real live issue of border security. I think the other thing to watch out for Arizona tomorrow is we're the center of attention because we've got the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in town, apparently down the street from where we sit tonight. And who knows what's going to happen with that? And where does the support go to Trump or to Harris?
What's your thought on that, Kathy?
The brilliance of the bipartisan bill was it covered both security and pathways to citizenship. So I think that it was a brilliant step forward.
All right, got into there. Kathy Patterson, Christine Jones, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.